Bangkok, Thailand. July 5, 2022. Inside a sprawling mansion, a 25-year-old Canadian millionaire, known to the world only as Alpha-02, hears a sudden, violent crash outside his gate. For 3 years, this young man had reigned supreme over $1 billion criminal empire on the dark web. He truly believed he was a ghost, untouchable, hidden behind layers of encryption and global anonymity. But in just seconds, he'd be tackled, handcuffed, and arrested because a trap, years in the making, was springing shut around him. The question isn't if his empire would crash, but how the dark web's most powerful man rose so far, so fast, and made one catastrophic mistake that brought it all down. The mid-2010 seconds was a digital Wild West. The promise of anonymity via tools like the Tor network combined with the rise of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin had fundamentally changed the criminal landscape. A new underworld economy had exploded online. The original titan of this new era, the Silk Road Marketplace, was shut down back in 2013. But its demise didn't stop the crime. It just fractured it. Suddenly, dozens of successor sites were vying for the vacant dark web throne. In late 2014, a mysterious figure calling himself Alpha-02 launched a new contender, AlphaBay. AlphaBay started quietly, specializing in basic financial fraud, mostly stolen credit card data, the low-hanging fruit of cybercrime. But Alpha-02 had far grander ambitions. Soon, it became the undisputed king, a one-stop black market for almost anything: narcotics, weapons, hacked personal data, malware, and worse. Think of it as the Amazon of illegal goods. The site was slick, user-friendly, and most importantly, it was built on a foundation of seemingly unshakable anonymity. Alpha-02 integrated sophisticated Bitcoin Tumblers tools designed to mix criminal funds with legitimate ones, laundering transactions into a digital fog. He even adopted privacy-focused coins like Monero, taking anonymity to the next level. His policies were somewhat telling. He banned child exploitation, and curiously, he forbade the sale of stolen information from Russian banks or citizens. Perhaps it was a nod to geopolitical caution, or perhaps a tactical move to mislead investigators by appearing to be Russian himself. Whatever the reason, AlphaBay's growth was meteoric. While competitors fell to exit scams, hacks, or police stings, AlphaBay survived. By 2017, it absolutely dwarfed every illicit market in history. It was over 10 times larger than the Silk Road, hosting over 300,000 listings and processing over $600,000 in transactions every single day. Alpha-02's cut was a cool 2% to 4% commission on every deal, and the money poured in, transforming the faceless admin into a fabulously wealthy, young millionaire. Behind the screens, Alpha-02, whose real name we now know was Alexandre Cazes, assembled a crew, tech engineers, moderators, and a lieutenant named Disnake who handled public relations. The Kingpin himself faded into the background, renaming his account simply Admin, believing these layers of secrecy made him an untouchable ghost. And for a while, it worked. But every criminal kingpin attracts the full attention of international law enforcement. The FBI, the DEA, Europol, they all knew AlphaBay was facilitating a global flood of dark web scams and crime. But they were chasing a phantom. The platform operated entirely on the Tor network. The site's servers bounced across relays, its users were cloaked, and its massive crypto flow was obscured by mixers. Every single investigative lead hit a digital wall. This is the standard challenge of a modern cybercrime documentary. The criminal isn't a face in a warehouse. They are a username in a digital fortress. Authorities spent 2 years in fruitless hunting, wondering if this mastermind was truly invisible. They resorted to old-fashioned policing, undercover agents conducting test buys, busting low-level vendors. But no one could get close to Alpha-02 himself. Think about the complexity of the digital financial fraud AlphaBay facilitated. Beyond just drugs, its most dangerous offerings were the tools for major phishing attacks. Cybercriminals could buy prepackaged kits to spoof banking websites, steal credentials, or purchase vast lists of compromised emails and passwords. This is where the real victims suffered. We're not just talking about petty fraud. In international finance, reports consistently showed that the tools and data sold on AlphaBay were used in cases of multi-million-dollar corporate hacks and massive data breaches, demonstrating the global impact of Cazes' operation. Then, in December 2016, the case cracked open with an unlikely, almost absurd breakthrough. A DEA agent received an anonymous email that dropped a bombshell. The sender claimed Alpha-02 had made a fatal mistake in AlphaBay's very first days. When the site first launched, every new user received a welcome email. Buried deep within the metadata of one such email, an oversight quickly corrected, but not before it was saved, was the true sender's address, pimpbunchalex91@hotmail.com. It seemed too ridiculous to be true. Could the king of the dark web really have been linked to an email address that sounded like a teenager's gamer tag? Agents launched an immediate intelligence blitz. That bizarre email address led them to an old online footprint. On a forgotten French social network, they found a profile for an Alex tied to the Pimp Bunch alias. On an old tech forum from 2008, they found an account named Alpha02 where the user had posted computer help advice, signing off with that exact Hotmail address and a full name, Alexandre Cazes. Eureka! The years of hunting a phantom were over. The secretive Alpha02 finally had a name and a face. The identity of that anonymous tipster has never been officially revealed. Was it a bitter rival dark web admin? Was it a scorned associate? Their single act of betrayal sealed Cazes' fate. With the name in hand, the threads rapidly pulled. They found a LinkedIn profile for Alexandre Cazes, a young Canadian tech entrepreneur who, on paper, looked like a legitimate IT professional. Crucially, they learned he was living in Bangkok, Thailand, and engaged to a Thai woman. The ghost was finally emerging from the digital shadows. Working with Thai authorities, a joint task force began discreet surveillance on Cazes in Bangkok. What they uncovered was a portrait of breathtaking hubris. Far from laying low, this 5-year-old was living like a rock star. He owned a palatial home in an upscale, gated community, multiple other properties, and drove a Lamborghini through the city streets. He flaunted luxury watches and even traveled with bodyguards. To his neighbors, he was just a wealthy, young, foreign businessman. They had no idea his fortune was built on facilitating global financial fraud mechanics and criminal sales. Agents also found Cazes active on an online pickup artist forum under the alias Romeo, where he bragged about his success, his wealth, and his life as an arrogant playboy. This was a man brimming with the overconfidence that law enforcement often waits for. He genuinely believed he was untouchable in Thailand, but every move was now being tracked. Surveillance teams logged his routines, when he woke up, when he went out, and most importantly, when he was likely online. Managing the massive AlphaBay operation, the challenge wasn't finding him, it was catching him red-handed and securing the digital evidence before he could wipe it. In the world of cybersecurity, a simple keyboard command or a shut laptop lid can trigger a powerful encryption that can take years, or even decades, to crack. They needed a perfect, zero-warning ambush. By mid-2017, law enforcement from around the globe, the Americans, the Europeans, and the Thai Royal Police had secretly united for Operation Bayonet. The goal was simple: dismantle AlphaBay and capture its kingpin in a single, devastating stroke. But they had a twist. European investigators had secretly taken control of another dark web market, Hansa. The plan was brilliant. Strike AlphaBay, keep the shutdown secret so its criminal users would flee to Hansa, which was now quietly run by the police. For weeks, Hansa would serve as a honeypot, allowing agents to watch criminals incriminate themselves before shutting that site down too. A 1-2 punch that would deal a massive blow to the entire dark web economy. The day of reckoning arrived in Bangkok on July 5, 2017. The task force knew Cazes' routine. He was usually online around 8 a.m. They needed to pull him away from his keyboard instantly. The plan was audacious. Stage a minor car accident at his gate to lure him outside. A female Thai officer, acting as the decoy, deliberately rammed her sedan into Cazes' front gate. The crash was loud enough to startle the quiet neighborhood and, critically, Cazes. He took the bait. He rushed outside, phone in hand, leaving his laptop open and logged in upstairs. As he approached the distraught driver, the trap sprung. A swarm of armed officers appeared from hiding. Cazes realized what was happening and bolted back toward his open doorway, desperate to reach the laptop, the master key to his empire. He didn't make it. Thai police tackled him to the ground, just steps from the door. At the same time, another team dashed inside the house. Racing up the stairs, past the luxury decor, they found the office. Cazes' laptop was sitting on the desk, logged in, unencrypted, and still connected to AlphaBay's admin interface. It was the perfect arrest. Within minutes, Cazes was in handcuffs, and the evidence, passwords, private keys, and server locations was secured. They froze his bank accounts, seized his crypto wallets, and hauled away his Lamborghini and other assets. The lavish life of Alpha02 was over. The mission continued. AlphaBay vanished, leading to mass panic on the dark web forums. Was it an exit scam? A raid? The lack of answers pushed tens of thousands of criminals directly into the arms of the police-controlled Hansa Honeypot. For 2 weeks, Dutch police quietly collected evidence on drug traffickers and hackers who thought they were safe. On July 20th, 2017, authorities announced the simultaneous takedown of both AlphaBay and Hansa, declaring it the largest dark web bust in history. AlphaBay's collapse sent shockwaves through the criminal underground, showing that no encryption is perfect and no criminal is truly invisible. Yet, the story doesn't end with Cazes. Just as Silk Road's demise inspired AlphaBay, AlphaBay's fall created a vacuum. New marketplaces were quickly on the rise. The most notorious was a Russia-based platform called Hydra, which eventually grew even larger than AlphaBay. Hydra, too, was finally taken down in 2022 by yet another international sting, proving that the game of cat and mouse never ends. The case of Alexandre Cazes is a terrifying cybercrime documentary in miniature, a cautionary tale of greed and fatal hubris. He flew too close to the sun. His arrogance led to a forgotten email, a boastful forum post, and ultimately, his undoing. 1 week after his arrest, Alexandre Cazes was found dead in his jail cell in an apparent suicide. At 25 years old, the king of the dark web had lost everything. What can we learn from the downfall of AlphaBay? While most of us aren't running billion-dollar dark web empires, the security protocols Cazes ignored are vital for all of us. The primary lesson is operational security, or OpSec. Cazes failed because he linked his anonymous online life to his real-world identity via one single, careless detail, that Hotmail address. Here is some practical advice on how you can avoid these digital threats and protect yourself from the types of phishing and fraud Cazes' clients were running. Never mix identities. Use entirely separate, non-personal email accounts for anything sensitive or questionable. Do not use your primary, personal, or work email for forums, gaming, or retail sites. Next, use strong, unique passwords. Use a reputable password manager and never reuse passwords. If one site is breached, your other accounts are safe. Also, always activate two-factor authentication, 2FA, especially on banking, email, and social media accounts. Use an authenticator app, like Google Authenticator or Authy, rather than relying on SMS, which can be vulnerable to SIM swapping attacks. Finally, monitor your credit. Use services to monitor your credit reports for unauthorized activity. The stolen data sold on AlphaBay often leads to future financial fraud. If you suspect you've been a victim of a major phishing attack or financial fraud, immediately change your passwords, notify your bank, and report the crime to the relevant authorities like the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, or IC3. Alexandre Cazes thought he had built something untouchable, a perfect machine hidden by encryption. But in the end, it was simple human error and monumental hubris that brought down his reign. His empire fell, but the demand for the dark web's throne remains. The digital shadows are always restless. I'm the Digital Sleuth. Thanks for watching. Be safe out there, and I'll see you next time.